existence. And then we will deep dive into the nuances of each criterias of its importance, and how do we develop the process and parameters of NBA as per new Tier 1 policies. Okay. So NBA GAPC 4.0, it is Graduate Attributes and Professional Competencies, which was released by International Engineering Consultancy of USA under the Washington Accord in the year 2021. So India became a permanent signatory to Washington Accord in the year 2014, and in 2024 we started implementing GAPC 4.0 under AICTE India. So the transition from old NBA Tier 1 accreditation process to new GAPC 4.0, from 3.0 to 4.0 jump, has happened because of various reasons with respect to the transformation in outcome based education, of how it is getting changed uh, with respect to the generation change of students. What should be the learning parameters? How do we measure them? How do we assess them? All these encompassed, and more focus was given to outcome based in totality, with curriculum, teaching, and pedagogy. So these were the major focus areas, where around 40% of the total marking of NBA Tier 1 focuses only on curriculum, assessment, and teaching methodologies, truly with respect to outcome based education, what is mentioned by the father of outcome based education, William Spady. To start ahead with, I come from Global Academy of Technology, south of India in Bangalore. This is the institute which we are. This year we are celebrating 25 years of our existence in Karnataka, and we are an autonomous institute under Vishveshwaraya Technological University, Belgaum in Karnataka. So, how many of you all know this institute? The first institute which I have mentioned here. Are the audience muted, or how it is, sir? Will they be able to
They
answer?
are muted, Sam.
Ah,
Just a
okay.
moment. I'll
So when
allow them.
we,
Yeah.
yeah, yes. So how many of you all know this institute? IIT Madras. Most of you all have heard, I guess, about this Institute of Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. Yes. Okay. So there are few institutes across India where we resonate with the names of those institutes, and everybody would like to know why the institute stands at that level when compared to other many engineering institutes across the country. So IIT Madras is one institute, for that matter, which stood in NIRF ranking one for almost 4 years now. They started from a humble beginning, and today there are one of the best global recognized universities across India. And also, it has made a great impact at a global level of, have made at a global level because of only one aspect they stand out today, that is outcome based education. So outcome based education, if we implement in totality, it is going to be a very new dimension to the institute as such, which may be a new institute or an old institute or an institute at a mediocre level or an institute which have achieved a quarter of a century of its existence. So outcome-based education has made these institutes, what you are seeing on your screen today, to stand apart from all other institutions across the country. So how did they make it happen, right? So they produced a very good quality of engineers. So, as you all are an engineering institute with a domain related to computer science and engineering, which is one of the creamy branches across India today, where students are coming forward to take and get placed with a very high company. So, as an institute, we are bound to produce good quality engineers, right? So, what, according to you, are the characteristics of a good engineer? Can few of you can answer it? If you can unmute yourself and ask, it would be better
Management,
so
you can
that.
unmute yourself or you can use the chat box also. Both are enabled now. Thank you.
Thank you. See, I understand that you will have more questions when we start with criteria wise, but before we understand that, we need to understand the nuances of why this new outcome has come into existence, right? So, anybody, what are the characteristics of a good engineers at Chalapati Institute of Technology? What kind of engineers do you produce? Okay, we'll go ahead. So engineer basically, what we look at the qualities are they should have a sound knowledge of engineering, science and technology. They should be able to solve well-defined and ill-defined problems. They should need to have a awareness of customers' needs and market trends, interest and awareness, ability to work in a team, ability to document, plan and communicate effectively, and willingness and ability to learn on the job. So these are the basic qualities what we look at a very good engineer. So undergraduate engineering programs are required to impart three major aspects with respect to 4 years of degree program in UG under AICT. The first one is they should be implanted with a knowledge. Second is skill, and the third is attitude. So whenever we are going to develop our course, we are giving a course objectives and course outcomes. So these course outcomes are going to map to knowledge, to skills, and to attitudes. So this knowledge, skill, and attitude, we are going to measure it with respect to various taxonomies. So the taxonomy that we generally follow with cognitive processes, Bloom's taxonomy. And I think every engineering institute across India is following Bloom's taxonomy to analyze the cognitive essence of what a student has been achieved. There are other two domains which are psychomotive and affective domains. But as an engineering institute, when we want to test the knowledge of a student, we go ahead with using Bloom's taxonomy, which is very well accepted in engineering education. So we all know that there are two kinds of accreditation process in India under NBA. One is Tier 1, where you are applying today, which is for academically autonomous institutes, and Tier 2 is academically non-autonomous or affiliated institutions. So presently in India, 90% of the colleges fall under category 2 and have been not been accredited by NAC or NBA. So what is the vision, mission, the statements of your institute? So your vision statement is to be a globally recognized premier technical institution by developing visionary engineers who are ethical and globally competent. It is a very big vision statement of Chalapati Institute of Technology, and followed by a mission statement which would support in developing the vision statement. We will come to this aspect, two statements of this, when we are going to map the various aspects in criteria, right? So when you look at why you require NBA, is it just a process where you try to develop document and then go ahead with all other aspects? No, it is not going to happen in that way. The true spirit of outcome-based education can be seen only through National Board of Accreditation. So NBA came into existence Since 2015, all engineering programs attain the program outcomes and demonstrate that they are continually improving in their performance, which is a mandate by AICTE. So draft NEP, which came in 2019 and amended in 2020, has made a statement that all institutions have to be accredited by 2022, but now it did not happen and they have extended it till 2030. So all teaching and learning activities in higher education institute should be planned and conducted to facilitate the students to attain well-defined and measurable outcomes. That is, OBE has to be implemented in spirit and totality with respect to all teaching and learning activities. Whatever you're teaching has to be measured. Whatever a student is learning also has to be measured in this new format. So OBE has become a foci of higher education in India since 2015. Engineering teachers should also meet the requirements of NBA accreditation. Okay. So the benefits of NBA, if you look in general, and everybody knows this, it facilitates a quality improvement, demonstrates accountability to the public. So anybody, if they question you, if you say my program is accredited by NBA, then it gives a standard certification like, okay, they have maintained the quality and hence they have been accredited by National Board of Accreditation. It improves the staff morale, recognizes the achievements and innovations, facilitates information sharing, priority in getting financial assistance. So nowadays, under ANRF, whatever funding you are going to apply, the first thing or the basic criteria is whether your program is being accredited by National Board of Accreditation. It helps the institute to know its strength, weakness, and opportunities. It initiates institutions into innovative and modern methods of pedagogy. So we cannot just go on using PPT and tell it to be one of the modern tools of teaching, which is outdated today. So PPT is not at all a teaching pedagogy. There are various other pedagogies which have come into existence, which can be possible only through OBE and NBA. So it promotes inter and intra-institutional interactions in a very good manner. So purpose of NBA is not to find faults, not to do denigrate the working style of the institution, not to demarcate the boundaries of quality, not to select only institutions of national excellence, but to provide benchmarks of excellence and identification of good practices. So this is not the work. NBA is not to find faults or tell you're not doing this, you're not doing that. It is generally giving us a benchmark of certification and quality, that where we stand, what are our strengths, weakness, and how we can improve. So Bloom's taxonomy is one taxonomy where we are measuring the cognitive domain of a student with respect to the knowledge sharing that is happening with respect to each of the engineering courses. So there are three domains basically. One is cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. So cognitive domain is being analyzed with the help of Bloom's taxonomy. Affective domain is going to be analyzed by Dave's taxonomy, and psychomotor domain is going to be analyzed by another taxonomy known as Gagne taxonomy, which we are not using at a greater level to engineering education. If we are a skill-based institution and try to place ourselves in a NIRF skill ranking university, then analysis of psychomotor domain is going to be very important. So this is the Bloom's taxonomy, which everybody knows. The initial stages was the words used in 1956 when the Bloom started the taxonomy were this, as you see on the screen. It was evaluation, synthesis, analysis, application, comprehension, and knowledge. And after deep dive by his students, Andrew and his fellow mates, in 2001, they came out with the RBT, which is known as Revised Bloom's Taxonomy, which we are following today, which has remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. So going forward, uh, I think this is the basic thing which everybody knows. So now we have a new kind of taxonomy which is related to the Gen Z kind of students, which where we are seeing in our engineering institution today, which is known as digital Bloom's taxonomy. So all our questions, assignments, our class interactions, or the way we talk to students, we are using knowingly or unknowingly these words of digital Bloom's taxonomy. So whenever we are framing the questions, we are also using the digital level, and this is going to be a norm in the near future where we all use the verbs of digital Bloom's taxonomy. So knowledge category of Bloom's taxonomy has been categorically divided into two phrases. When I'm going to define a question, or a course outcome, it has to have two phrases. One is a noun phrase and one is a verb phrase. Noun phrase is going to analyze my knowledge, and verb phrase is going to analyze through what action I'm going to achieve that knowledge. So you can see an example over here. State Maxwell field equation. This is one general simple question with respect to engineering physics in first year. So state Maxwell's field equation. Maxwell's field equation is a noun, and it is a knowledge. So what is a knowledge here? It is Maxwell's field equation. So what Maxwell field equation has to be done? It has to be stated. State is a verb phrase where I'm going to analyze how a student is going to know that knowledge. So he's going to know that knowledge by stating or by deriving or by applying. So any other verbs you can use. So a Bloom's taxonomy is going to be measured in two dimensions. One is verb phrase and the other one is a noun phrase. So all the categories of engineering knowledge from year one to year two, the course what you're doing is categorized into four categories, which is factual knowledge, conceptual knowledge, procedural knowledge, and metacognitive knowledge. In general, these are the knowledge categories for any of the learning what a student undergoes in any kind of domain. It is not specific to engineering alone. So when I look into the specifics of engineering, the four categories of knowledge are fundamental design principle, criteria and specification, practical constraints, and design instrumentalities. So these four engineering domains can be very much correlated to general categories of factual, conceptual, procedural, and metacognitive analysis. So this is how we do the analysis with COPO. Your complete criteria 3, 2, and 1 is dependent on this. So if you better understand the Bloom's taxonomy, then it is a smooth flow for you to framing your curriculum, framing your outcomes, and mapping those outcomes and finding the attainments. So learning, teaching, and assessment, the three major aspects, 120 marks for each in NBA Tier 1. It includes three domains, cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. But in engineering, when we are analyzing only the knowledge aspect, we are focusing on cognitive domain. If you feel any of your labs where the psychomotor, the movement of hand or limbs, and the cognition with respect to the brain is in line, and you feel that skill is more important, then you have to analyze the psychomotor domain and any affective domain which involves the expression of the students. This is more relevant to the students of art, culture, media, journalism. So where they have to have the expressions imbibed with the knowledge, then they Washington Accord, Sydney Accord, and Dublin Accord. So we are under the category of Washington Accord, where we generate professional engineering graduates. Sydney Accord generates technologists, and Dublin Accord generates technical graduates. So here in Washington Accord under GAPC 4.0, the new category that has been brought is complex engineering problem, which is 20 marks in your NBA Tier 1. So complex engineering problem understanding and how do we design and analyze them with respect to societal and real life examples is very prominent. So the new terminologies here is complex engineering problems, which is termed as WP, complex engineering activities EA, graduate attributes or program outcomes, what we call in India, has been reduced from 12 to 11. And knowledge profiles is WK, which is going to be a base or a need analysis for framing of your curriculum. So I think these are just the in detail analysis of POs, what changed, how do we define, and all other aspects. Where the dean sir of your institute had told me that you'll know in detail about all these aspects. So I'll just skip this. The knowledge and attitude profile is the new one, where we have nine categories, and each of these categories are mapped with the program outcome. So when you're mapping a course outcome to a program outcome, you should keep in mind that it is going to address WKs also. So these definitions of WKs you should know. And whenever you are giving, analyzing a student with respect to assessment, you should be very careful that the knowledge and attitude profile would be answering through those assessments. So you should read the statement of WKs and then frame the questions with respect to outcomes so that it becomes very prominent. So the new categories, that is GAPC 4.0, can be categorized into this way. Analysis of problem and synthesis of solution in any of the program will be categorized under PO1 to PO5. Responsibilities are PO6 and PO7, and which are required in workplace after engineering is PO8 to PO11. So from PO1 to PO11, we will be training the students, analyzing them, and attaining and calculating the attainment of each student with respect to all these aspects. So knowledge profile needs to be ascertained when we are developing our curriculum. Complex engineering problems and activities to be met as per the definitions of NBA SAR 1. Sustainability issues to be addressed while solving complex engineering problems. So these are this one table shows you a clear understanding. PO engineering knowledge is mapped to WK1 to WK4, which involves complex engineering problem. Similarly, problem analysis PO2 is mapped to WK1 to WK4, which involves complex engineering. Similarly, all the aspects you can see here. So the solving of complex engineering problem will happen when you map your course from PO1 to PO6. How do I say that this is mapped to complex engineering problem? This is clearly mentioned in the statement of the program outcomes that we need to solve the complex engineering problem in any of the form. Similarly, from 7 to 11, there is no solving of any complex engineering problem. You need to do various activities to attain these aspects of outcomes from 7 to 11. Asking a question in the examination will not suffice you to give or map your outcome to the program outcomes from 7 to 11. From 7 to 11, we need to focus on doing certain activities or certain alternate assessment tools apart from writing tests. And 9 is one where we have to focus on engineering activities. So, engineering activities, there are 5 in number given by GAPC 4.0, which we need to look in and then come out. So these are just the statements, complex engineering problems. So one simple problem I will state here, difference between common problem and complex engineering problem. So make a wire turn when excited by voltage is a direct question, and the student is going to write an answer in 1 or 2 lines. So to make it a complex engineering problem, you need to have the Bloom's taxonomy level understood at various levels. Then you would be converting this question in this way. Explain why a wire excited by a voltage turns when placed in a magnetic field. So this is going to be a complex analysis. Why? Because he need to explain the Faraday's or Lorentz or Maxwell laws. This requires a knowledge of vector field mathematics, magnetic flux, and partial differential equations. And it cannot be solved in just 1 or 2 lines. A student has to really undergo the analysis with respect to various domains. It requires a long interval of time. It requires reference from various materials to come out with certain problems. So here are few examples of complex engineering problems for various domains. So when I focus on CSE, it is develop an AI-based cybersecurity system to detect and prevent zero-day attacks. So this is just one statement where a student cannot write or analyze a problem just by one statement or any such method. They have to dive deep into the course knowledge, analyze, apply, refer materials, take prolonged time, have interdisciplinary connections with various engineering domains, and then come out with a solution. And sustainable development goals also carries a prominent marking in NBA Tier 1. All your internships, your projects, mini projects, minor projects, and major projects have to be mapped to sustainable development goals along with your internships. So whenever you're defining project, you need to analyze which sustainable development goal this project is going to address. So among all this, you have to just see where an engineering is going to support the sustainable development goal in reaching through the curriculum. So these are just the definitions. So graduate attributes and other aspects. So this is just a general difference. I'll just skip this. What is changed and all I've explained here. I've just gone through that. And when I look at NBA, NAC, and NIRF, so all the parameters here are going to remain same. So when we focus completely on OBE, we are going to address NBA, we are going to address NAC, the new binary system which is coming into existence. And the third one is NIRF ranking, which has become a prominent for Indian standards to be in the band of ranking from 1 to 100. So OBE plays a very prominent role in these aspects. When an institute wants to be in the limelight, then OBE has to be the base through which we can be in limelight. Okay, so this is the basics of what GAPC 4.0 is all about and how it has come into existence. Now I'll just go ahead with each criterions where you have already developed the pre-qualifier is what I heard, and you're in a verge of submitting your SAR documents. So I request each one of you all to unmute yourself and ask the questions right then and there whenever the criteria, whatever I'm discussing, is going to happen. So I hope you'll be having more number of doubts so with respect to the development of files or other aspects with respect to various criteria we are going to study here. So criteria one is outcome based curriculum, which is of 120 marks. So this is how the distribution is going to happen with respect to the criterion one. So availability of the vision and mission statement of the department and institution. So when I looked into your website, it was clearly visible. The institute had a vision mission statement, and also the department or a program had vision mission statement. So availability is given 1 mark. So usually the evaluator is going to allot full marks for this. The second parameter here is appropriateness and relevance of the statement. So it is a subjective evaluation for 2 marks. So for this, you need to develop a matrix of how your vision statement of the institute of the department is getting mapped with the vision statement of the institute. It is not mission and PO matrix, it is vision of the department and vision of the institute mapping, mission of the institute and mission of the department mapping. So that appropriateness with keywords, if you can bring it out, then that would fetch full marks. Then consistency of the department vision and mission statement with the institute vision and mission statement. So these two parameters, the table that you are going to develop for vision mapping, mission mapping with justification for department and institution would carry full 5 marks under 1.1.1. So vision of the department would usually be the aspirations of the department which have to be achieved in the long run, where the department sees itself down the road. Typically one sentence or two sentence at most. It should be a small sentence so that everybody remembers it. It must result from a well-defined and recorded process, right? So we hear the word process very often in NBA Tier 1. So what does this process is has to be clearly understood by everyone who is working under outcome-based education. Similarly, mission statement. Vision is where the department wants to be in the future. Mission is what the department does to get there. So these are the small steps of how I'm going to achieve it in a long run. So typically there'll be 2 to 4 sentences. So 1.1.2 carries 5 marks. Listing of program educational objectives, 3 to 5 has to be in number of the program under consideration and their appropriateness. Description. So here you have to map the PEOs to mission statements of how it is getting aligned. So program education objectives are basically you are going to derive these statements by taking consideration of employers and alumni as a major stakeholders. So PEOs cannot be developed with respect to just the feedback of a parent or a student. It has to be taken by the alumni and the employers of your institution who would give you a correct picture of how the PO could be framed. So the process for PO, you should be very careful. It has to be in alignment with alumni and employers only. Next is description of the process involved in defining vision and mission of the department, a complete process. So when did your institution start? So what is the policy that you have to look after? Once in how many years do I change my vision and mission statement? If I want to retain it, what is the process? Who are the people involved? Do you have a department advisory committee? Do you have a program assessment internal committee? So how many meetings do you do in 1 month? What all you decide? Department advisory committee usually once in a semester meeting happens, and there we take a call with respect to course outcomes, planning, mapping, articulation, and everything. And once it is approved, it will be taken to the BOS. So in the BOS, the decisions will be made. Then it will be taken to the academic council. From academic council, it goes to the governing council. And after governing council, the chair of the BOS is going to disseminate all this to the internal faculty members, and stakeholders. So this complete process in a flow chart and each documentation year-wise has to be clearly maintained, which carries 6 marks. Description of the process involved in defining the POs of the program. Similarly, what we do for vision mission, say once in 3 years or once in 4 years is your mandate to look into the vision mission statement of the program. Then similarly should be your POs, because say 5 years back your students would not have been placed in some companies, and now your students are getting placed in few companies. So you need to have that matrix of where my students are getting placed. So if this is the company they are going in, my PEOs have to be changed. So you have to have the process or definition of when this has to be changed at what interval of time, and complete documentation of that has to be maintained. So here comes the process. So whenever the word process is used in the SAR document, that is the uh, report what you're going to develop now, so it should have a process formulation, so a notification to all the concerned and its implementation. So what is process formulation? A clear description of activities that constitute the process, maybe the flow chart or a write-up or whatever you're doing now. It should be clearly written, clearly figured. A flow chart has to be proper. A textual description can be supplemented with a graphical representation. This will be quite effective in making the process clear. So once the process is set, you have to notify who are all the people involved in this process to take action. So you have to send email, you have to send a communicative way. You cannot do it through WhatsApp or orally. There has to be a documentation process when you are going to send all these details to a concerned stakeholders. So once the meeting of the stakeholders happen, you would be taking the geotagged photos, you would be analyzing, taking the minutes of the meeting, maintaining the records of those files, and going for the implementation process. So you would be having a column. So what is the recommendations and what are the remarks? Whether it could be achieved, not achieved, why it could not be achieved if it is not achieved. So a process for anything, vision, mission, PO, PSO, or your attainment, gap analysis, all the process should have these things. So how do we do that? Brainstorming with all stakeholders concerned, including management, faculty, students, alumni, employers, and industry experts. Formulation of the vision mission statement, validation by experts from academia and industry. So the above three steps may have to be iterated to arrive at the final version. So it is good to establish a department level committee that can assume responsibility of this process, which we call it as Department Advisory Committee. IQAC, it must be involved in the process to ensure uniformity and quality across all the departments of the institution. So one institution cannot follow one practice and the other program cannot follow another practice under the same institution. So IQAC is going to play an important role to bring this semblance of whatever the academic is going to decide in an institute. So the vision and the mission of the institute will be defined first. That you will take it as a base and define the vision and mission of the program, and then start mapping all the various aspects in line to match your vision and mission. So all your course outcome, attainment, placement, whatever you're doing, you're finally doing it to reach the vision and mission statement of your department. And that in turn will reach the vision mission statement of your program. So going ahead, here you have adequacy in respect to publication and dissemination. So once everything is finalized, your PO, PSOs, POs anyways is given by NBA and WKs is also given by NBA. So vision mission of the institute, vision mission of the program, PEOs, PSOs, POs and WKs. How do you disseminate it? So you have to disseminate in various aspects. So you can put it as a signature in the official email IDs of the heads of the departments and the faculties. You should display it on a notice board in classrooms. In orientation session, you have to give a session on that. During class hours, you will be discussing it. In parents teacher meeting, you would be doing it. When you're conducting any conference or other aspects, you would be doing it. You would be bringing this in your newsletter, magazines. So whatever you're doing in your department, you have to have the dissemination process well defined because it carries 3 marks. And also among the stakeholders. So publication and dissemination is going to happen with respect to 5 marks, and you have to be very careful on how you are going to disseminate and have a process set for to do this. So these are general statements. So this is again PO and mission matrix, which carries 5 marks, and consistency and justification. So you have say around uh, 2 or 3 POs. So you will be mapping it to your mission statement, say 3 to 5 mission statements you have. So you'll make a table of it like an articulation matrix and map it to the PEOs and write a justification for each of these mappings. So if you have mapped your PEO 1 to mission 1, why you have mapped, and you have to you would be saying it is having a high relevancy, medium relevancy, or a low relevancy. So you should be knowing why you have given high relevancy, why you have given medium relevancy, and why you have given low relevancy. A justification statement has to be written for each of these marking, which carries 10 marks. So this is the same thing which I've told you. So here is one simple example. This is an example of one institute, not your institute or not my institute. So Act PO4 of that program is, I'm sorry, act with global ethical, societal, and ecological awareness expected of practicing engineering professionals. So this is their PO4, and their mission statement 3 has a part of that statement as responsible citizen with social, ethical, and environmental awareness. So PO4 is being mapped to mission statement 3, and it is substantial or at a very high level of marking. Why? The justification is written in this way. The learning environment provided in the college is designed to mold the students into responsible citizens with social, ethical, and environmental awareness. This, coupled with program curriculum, will lead graduates to act with global, ethical, societal, and ecological awareness. So, this verbal text, whatever you are going to use, have to be highlighted both in your PEOs and mission statements, and in justification also. Those words have to be reflected at a very high level. Then comes the next parameter, which is 1.2.1, which carries 10 marks. Periodic review through search, conference, curriculum development, workshop, identifying job roles, taking into account the POs and PSOs involvement in the of the industry in the process. So whenever you are going to have a periodic review of your program, how well you are doing it, what is the process for that? What are the inputs that you're taking from the conference for development of curriculum, from the workshops, from the stakeholders? How we are taking the inputs of WKs and POs and PSOs to frame your curriculum. So that process and mapping is very important here for 10 marks. So this are all the need analysis which has to be done during the start of the preparation of curriculum. So now it has been changed from 2024. The next curriculum, whatever you're going to change, should have the need analysis with respect to WKs, POs, and PSOs. These are the inputs for, like how do we have the input as a feedback from the management, from the employers, from the faculty, and from the students. In the similar way, WKs, POs, and PSOs are also the inputs in framing the curriculum. So then process document and implementation records have to be maintained. BOS composition. So once in a year, how many times the BOS is going to meet, what you are going to decide, and what is the involvement of industry in this, and university representative. Minutes of the meetings have to be maintained, feedback and review mechanisms, and correlation to POs and PSOs, which you are going to showcase again here. Right. So as per the new structure of NBA Tier 1, the complete curriculum structure has been redesigned. And as per National Credit Framework, which came into existence in 2022, each hour of credit is going to have total of 30 hours. So before we used to have one credit is equal to 15 hours, but now as per National Credit Framework, it has been revamped. That is one uh, credit is equal to 30 hours, which involves term work or self-learning parameters. So this is the curriculum structure, which is again given by the NBA, which has to be followed for all the courses. So if you are having a course of 4 credits, then it is 4 into 30, which is 120 hours in one semester you have to do. So 4 credits, usually 4 hours per week of lecturing, or you can divide it if it is an integrated core course where you are integrating lab and other aspects, and the remaining hours have to be shown for self learning and term work. So this term work involves your assignments, your alternate assessment tools, whatever you are going to do. So each credit is equal to 30 hours as per National Credit Framework. So your complete curriculum structure of the program has to be in this table. And this format is there in the SAR as well. So whenever you're uploading the SAR, you would be uploading it in the similar format. So next is the component of curriculum. So how much percentage of your program will fall, number of courses will fall under basic science, under basic engineering, humanities, program core, program electives, open elective, project, internship, seminars, and other things, right? So there is a mandate which is given by AICT to have a certain percentage for each of these contents or percentages for each of these. In a similar way, whether you have followed as per the norms or not is going to be checked with this parameter. Then we have curriculum design in terms of various education reforms. We have national education policy, we have national credit framework, we have NETF, which is coming up now, and many mandates from UGC, Swayam, MOOC. So all these things are there, right? So what is that you have involved in your curriculum to bring these educational reforms? Have you given multiple entry and multiple exit options? Is academic bank of credits valid in your education system? Is APAR IDs valid in your institution? So how you are giving skill-based education? Uh, if a student is doing any MOOC course, are you considering those credits to the institutional credits what you are giving? So all these are educational reforms. Whatever you are doing in your institute, it has to be reflected, and the proofs have to be shown along with the documents. Then listing of PSOs, which is up to three, program under consideration and their appropriateness. So PSOs should not have the same words as POs. So whatever a PO cannot uh, analyze or solve with respect to your program, so those have to be taken into consideration and framed as PSOs. So then documentary evidence of mapping of all courses with POs and PSOs. So usually all the course in the course plan, what we have this each course under course coordinator where they define the course outcomes, map it to program outcomes, and develop a table known as program articulation matrix, right? So each course will have that. So we have to consolidate that in a table. So each course and the modular value of program outcomes for each course have to be lined, and similarly in that way somewhere around 60 to 66 subjects including all electives have to be brought in one table and made this document ready. So we have to tag COs with POs, PSOs. We have to map it with cognitive levels, Bloom's taxonomies, which we are doing. The action verbs have to be used in COs. PSOs are written well. COs of the course map generally to a single PSO. It is desirable to map a CO to one or two of the first five POs and one of the professional POs, PO6 to PO12. PO7 to PO12, it should be always an activity based to justify appropriately of the mapping that is being done. If a CO is mapped to too many POs, it can become difficult to conduct evaluation instruction and to demonstrate how you have been evaluated those POs for the attainment. So CO1 cannot be mapped to PO1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is highly impossible to evaluate all the POs in a given 3 to 4 months of time of one semester. So you should be very careful of how you are going to map. When you are going to give a high mapping rate of 3, 2, and 1, on what basis have you decided to give it 3, 2, 1 should also be justified with each of the faculties. Then documentary evidence of appropriateness of the CO statements. So you have defined your CO statements, but you have to relook into it whether you have used the action verbs with respect to Bloom's taxonomy when you're defining your course outcomes, which should be addressing the knowledge levels with respect to the taxonomies which have been mentioned. So here is one example of how do we calculate the module wise COs. Uh, so if you look here, this CO1 is mapped to PO1, CO2 is mapped to PO2, PSO I'll just neglect now. CO3 is mapped to PO3. Here 4 is to map to 4 and 5, and CO4 is mapped to 2. So to calculate the modal values of POs, there are 3 or to 4 methods which you can follow. So I do not know what method your institute or your program has followed. So this is the first one. I map only one CO to one program outcome. So remaining five, I do not map to PO1. So the more average value is 3 by 1. Here I map to two COs. The average value is summation of these two divided by number of COs that are being mapped. 5 by 2, 2.5. Here 3 by 1, 3, 3 by 1, 3, 2 by 1, 2. So this is how one method of calculating the modal value is going to happen. The second is going to be similar one. 3 by 1 is 3. Then add all this, divide by number of COs is going to be the other method. And the third method is irrespective of your mapping, bring the denominator equivalent to total number of COs. So I've mapped here only to one PO. Rest of the COs are not being mapped here. So 3 divided by 5, total number of COs, which gives you the model values of taking the attainment levels, right? So this, what method you're going to follow will be reflected in criteria 3 of whether the program is able to achieve, not achieve, if it is not achieved, why it is not achieved, how the gap analysis is done, all those will follow. So the major aspect in SAR, what you have to do is you have to provide the course outcomes for two courses per semester, two core courses. So please keep in mind whenever you are putting the course in your SAR, it has to be core courses only. Two per semester you have to choose and then put it into the SAR. The maximum number of outcomes for a course is expected to be around six. Minimum four, maximum is six. So minimum the better when you write it in a holistic manner. Course outcomes should reflect on the measurable outcome towards attaining POs and PSOs. The department should make available COs of any course as demanded by visiting committee. So whenever the committee is going to come, it is not that only the course what you have reflected in SAR will be asked. They can ask any course file for that matter to analyze and evaluate you. While NBA does not mandate use of revised Bloom's taxonomy framework for writing COs, it has been the de facto accepted framework. So nowhere in AICT, nowhere in NBA document, they have told us to use Bloom's taxonomy for measurement of cognitive level, but it is appreciated and well taken into consideration as a de facto where the Bloom's taxonomy is being accepted across for measurement of cognitive analysis. So this is another table, the last one for criteria one, documentary evidence of appropriateness of the CO statement. So each program, say 8 to 10 programs, you will take core courses and show it in the SAR. Documentary evidence of appropriateness of CO statement is justification of why CO1 is mapped to PO1 at a level 3 or CO1 is mapped to PO2 at a level of 2. You need to write the justification for each of these statements and those copies have to be available in the individual course files. So that is all about criteria 1. Any doubts you all have with criteria 1 or any clarifications? So doubts in the sense, since you all are in the process of NBA, and I heard two times you've already got uh, anything that you wish to know about criteria one, or should we go ahead? Do we go ahead? Shall we go ahead? Anybody there? Okay. So criteria two, the basic is academic calendar is one of the basic parameters for criteria two. So academic calendar, all institutes are going to have. So, but what you have to do with academic calendar of event is how do you map the activities that you have measured in calendar of events with respect to the actual activities that you're doing. Suppose you mention in the calendar of events that my continuous internal assessment is going to happen on this date. So the date on which the question paper is going to be printed, the date on which a student is going to answer in the booklet will be verified. Similarly, if you mention a guest lecture, I would be doing it on so and so day. And if you're unable to do it, then it becomes the adherence to academic calendar of events. So calendar of event generation usually everybody has, but adherence of calendar of events have to be very effectively maintained. So pedagogical initiatives, documentary evidences have to be there with respect to ICT support learning and interactive classrooms. So documentary evidence of tailored resources, differentiated interest, instructions, and individualized attention to meet their unique learning needs. Written procedure must be available for identifying weak and bright students. So what are the parameters that you have considered for weak students, and how you are addressing the bright students also should be there. Records of initiatives like remedial classes must be maintained. Records of initiative of optional assignments to challenge bright students must be maintained. Records of impact analysis should also be there. So once you do a remedial class for a weak student, what is the outcome for that? Whether is improved or not improved? If he is improved, what better you can do? If he has not improved, why he has not improved? All this impact analysis has to be there at criteria 2. So classroom ambience and efforts to keep students engaged also to be verified with the interaction during the student. So how is your classroom ambience, the ventilation, lights and fans, whether you are using smart board, projectors are there, how the seating capacity of the student is. So all these will be taken care when they are going to interact with the students. Then quality of laboratory experience, records how you have maintained, what is the manual, what is the rubric that you have created for each of the experiments that you are going to do. So all these aspects would be done on a physical visit to the laboratory as well. 2.2 is quality of student capstone project, which carries a major chunk of a mark, which is 25 marks in totality. So your capstone project is basically a major project which is being done in the final year. So how you have to define a well-defined process of how the project work is being carried out. So you have to have a flow chart. First is the guide allocation, topic selection, how the guide is allotted, how the topics are selected, how the groups of students are formed, what is the process for doing it. So all that is going to come as the first part. Then how do you allocate the guide to a student? Is there any policy for that, or students can randomly choose? Randomly choosing is not an option. There should be some mechanism. The competencies of each faculty should to be mapped to each of the projects and how we are going to do it. Then what is the project proposal format? What are the rubrics that you are following? How many reviews you would do in one semester for the project? Minutes of project, work diaries for the project. So all these documentary evidences have to be maintained with respect to capstone project. So project again classification has to be done based on application, product, research, review, and incorporating environment, safety, ethics, cost standards, and mapping of each of these projects to POs and PSOs have to be done. So if you're mapping it to POs and PSOs, then this also should have a course outcomes. Okay. So project abstract with tags can be maintained as a best practices across the institution. POs and PSO mapping sheet can be done. Rubrics of how the evaluation is going to be done. So for each and every aspect, wherever we are doing evaluation as per tier one, we need to have a rubric in place, and we need to showcase the project reports of a student who is getting a high mark, medium mark, and a low mark to the committee which is going to visit us. And then you have to have a process for continuous monitoring, meeting records with guide and frequency, project review schedule, meeting logs, project progress reports, internal review committee meeting, evaluation rubrics used during review. So all these have to be maintained as a record for capstone projects. So quality of projects, a separate category can be made here. So in totality, 25 marks is not a small number in criteria too. So whoever is a project coordinator has to effectively work and develop strong documents where you can justify or get 25 marks of these quality projects. Next is internship industrial training, which is again carrying 10 marks. So documentary evidence of process of internship industrial training. So how do you uh, choose or start giving the internship? How you are clubbing, if it is an individual or a group, how you are doing that, how the industry is coming or accepting your student, whether faculty is playing any role, whether the institute is playing any role, or a student is choosing by himself or herself have to be written as a documentary evidence. Then you should have a internship policy document. What kind of internship can a student do? Can a student do a teaching internship, a research internship, a survey internship, or a government internship, or a private internship? So what kind of internship is a student going to do? So that detailed complete policy document should be available with you. Then list of participating student year-wise and mapping of those to POs and PSOs. Approval letters have to be collected and framed for each of the internship that a student is going. Visit report. So once in a while, the head of the department or a internship guide has to interact with the industry people and make the minutes of the meeting and then maintain it as a record. Then you have to have internship completion certificate. A report has to be generated. Attendance, logbook, and work diary of internship should be there. And few students on various random days, geotag photos have to be clicked by a student when he's working in the internship. POPSO has to be mapped. Justification sheet should be there of why a particular PO and PSO is mapped with respect to internship. Sample internship evaluation formed with mapped outcomes should be there, and report of a complete internship should also be made available. So another important aspect is a feedback form has to be collected by the student regarding the internship. So once the student gives the feedback, you have to analyze those reports regarding the internship of how it was, why it was, whether I can send the student coming in the next year to the same company. Of if a student tells not to send, why it has not to be done, that analysis has to be done. Action taken report has to be developed and submitted to the chairman BOS by the internship coordinator, and it has to be recorded in the minutes of the meeting. Then seminar and mini micro projects again carries 10 marks. The same procedure applies whatever you're applying for the project and internship. A complete process has to be there. A policy document has to be there. List of students, their title and mapping to each POs and PSOs. Then attendance sheet, log sheets, evaluation sheets, rubric, feedback by the students, and then capturing of geotag photos and sample seminar reports and PPTs also should be made available to the committee who is visiting or looking into seminar and mini and micro projects. So case studies and real life example carries 10 marks. So here comes a critical part of how a department is solving or helping a nation in totality to solve the issues of real life studies or case studies or complex engineering problems as such, right? So real life examples are generally complex engineering problems. So how many complex engineering problems does a program has? How the students are enabled to solve these real life case studies or real life examples? How are you integrating it with respect to evaluation? Which are the courses which are going to address this? What kind of students are solving this? And what is the level of interdisciplinary that is brought in with respect to solving of case studies and real life examples? This has to be completely maintained for getting 10 marks with respect to case studies and real life examples. This is again in general. Okay. So 2.6 is going to be Swayam, NPTEL, MOOC, and self-learning. So here your students might have done various other courses apart from Swayam and NPTEL. But clearly, if it is a proctored examination like NPTEL and Swayam, then you can go ahead and list it and claim it for 10 marks. But if it is something like Coursera, where there is no proctored examination, such as NPTEL and Swayam, then the marking will be subjective by the evaluator. If you can create a database of your students who have completed the MOOC courses in Swayam and NPTEL, then it would be great to list those students and have those certificates in hand for mapping or getting this. And also, if you are going a step ahead, then converting these grades, whatever you get in Swayam and NPTEL, to your academic bank of credits and regular program of 4 years, then it would be a great deal and you would surely get a complete 10 marks. So the last part over here are the major component of criteria 2 in new is solving of complex engineering problem and incorporating sustainability development goals. So we need to first understand what is complex engineering problem, definitions of complex engineering problem, what problem can be defined as a complex engineering problem, and then how we are implementing it into the curriculum, and how we are integrating sustainable development goals also into the curriculum is what is expected in 2.7. So clearly written description of each complex engineering problem taken up in course assignment, capstone, mini micro projects, and competition. So whenever you go to a hackathon, a smartathon, or whatever events, professional events your student is participating, so the problem that they are going to solve, say for 24-hour hackathon or 48-hour hackathon, those are complex engineering problems which do not have a solution readily available. They have to dig deep, dive deep, and then do the analysis and come out with a solution. So the documentary evidences of such have to be maintained. The mini and micro projects where they take a long interval of time to complete, say, a one semester. Similarly, capstone projects, all those can be categorized in complex engineering problems, but it has to be complex in nature, where they have to have conflicting constraints, multidisciplinary, safety, social, and environmental concerns all have to be part of these things. Mapping matrix have to be there for complex engineering problem and SDGs, whatever you are going to address. So each of the complex engineering problems should address to PO, PSOs, and what SDG it is going to be attained. A complete repository can be maintained in the department of complex engineering problems that are going to be addressed by each of your program. So if you are considering complex engineering problem under projects, then you can have a project reports that are readily available. Field studies and research activities, if you're giving in a really complex engineering problem, then that can be maintained. Then course-based assignments, say internal assignments, we do continuous internal assessment. So in that, for a complete one semester, if you're giving one problem to be solved as complex engineering problem, then those documentary evidences have to be clearly maintained and showcased. So rubrics of how you are evaluating PO/PSO attainment, calculation, and mapping with respect to complex engineering problem also has to be maintained very evidently. And steps taken for enhancing industry institute partnership. So any industry is partnering with your institute in delivering a part of a curriculum, fetches full marks over here. So if that is the case, then you have to have the invitation and formal communication with the industry experts. Profile of the industry personnel has to be ready, attendance sheet mark. They have to have taken a module or such in each of the courses taught to the students. Student feedback and analysis on this. So complete report has to be made and maintained for steps taken for enhancing industry institute partnership. So, and also on the day, the auditors may call upon those industries to cross verify and also would be asked with students on how it was being done. Okay, these are in detail. So the next part is criteria 3, which is completely the calculation part of articulation matrix, what you do in criteria 1 and directly bring it to criteria 3 after undergoing the TLP process in criteria. To criteria 1, you set a goal. Criteria 2, you do the work. Criteria 3, you assess whatever is done in 1 and 2 and see whether whatever goal you have set is being achieved or not achieved. If it is achieved or not achieved, you would be taking that to criteria 8 to do the gap analysis. So outcome based assessment, 10 marks for evaluation of continuous assessment. So what is the rubric that you have for evaluation? The question papers, what kinds of taxonomy questions that you are going to ask as per Bloom's taxonomy, how many course outcomes have been covered in your continuous assessment. So all these parameters would be done. So a course file is one thing which shows everything with respect to criteria 3. So any one course file should have all this. What are the different mechanisms of continuous internal assessment? How you are evaluating it? How, what are the rubrics that you have developed? What is the feedback that is collected? What is direct attainment? What is indirect attainment? What are the proofs for direct attainment? What are the proofs for indirect attainment? Everything has to be there in a particular course file. Okay. So evaluation of semester and examination, a complete process of how your semester and examination, since it is an autonomous institute, you should have a robust and well-defined examination system for semester and examination where you would be having a complete process set, whether you are inviting external papers to external people to set the question paper to evaluate or analyze or what, the complete process of semester and examination has to be there. how you evaluate whether there is an external moderation, what is your passing mark, what is your grace marking system, what are the different grades that you have, what is the quality of SEE question paper, how do you analyze what amount of CO coverage is being done, what are the levels of questions that is being asked with respect to cognitive level. So all these would be analyzed in the evaluation of semester and examination question paper. So the controller of examination has to play a very prominent role in this part. So evaluation of laboratory work and workshop carries another 10 marks, where each experiment, if a student is attending a lab, what is the mark that you have allotted? Say 10 marks for each lab he comes. So why 10 marks? How you are developing a rubric to give a 10 marks? How much marks you are giving for observation? How much marks you are giving for conduction of experiment? How much marks you are giving for his behavior? How much mark you are giving for viva voce? So such kind of rubrics have to be there in each lab to assess and analyze of workshops and laboratories that you are going to do. Similarly, industrial training and internship. So if you are sending a student to an industrial training as a part of our curriculum, documentary evidences have to be clearly maintained. And internship as well, if it is in a final year, you are going to have a complete detailed procedure for that. And each student internship title, mapping that to POs, course completion certificate, reports, feedback. So all that complete internship file has to be maintained in an appropriate format. Then this is evaluation of projects which carries 10 marks. So in the previous criteria, two capstone projects carries 25 marks and here it is 20 marks. So total 45 marks for major project alone. So project coordinator, 45 marks is in your hand on how you are going to develop and showcase each of the aspects of project. Evaluation of project is another big parameter where you would be uh, creating the rubrics, how many reviews you're doing, what is that you're going to analyze, how it is going to be mapped to POs, what is the attainment methodology that you follow for project work. So all these in detail analysis have to be maintained with respect to the project file. Total 45 marks is going to be allotted for that. Then evidence of addressing sustainable development goals. See your project work, internships, seminars, industrial training, if you are sure of those things being mapped to sustainable development goals, then how are you evaluating these sustainable goals? Are you asking any question with respect to continual internal assessment? Or are you doing any alternate assessment tools to measure the sustainable development goals? Or how is this being brought out and how you are being evaluated for SDGs should also be maintained in an appropriate manner. Then attainment of COs and attainment of POs complete 50 marks. So COs and POs mapping in criteria 1 carries 30 marks there, and here it is 50. So total 80 marks for course outcomes, appropriateness, articulation matrix, and finally the attainment. So, what is the complete process of course attainment? What is your direct attainment? What is the percentage of CIE that you're taking, and what is the percentage of SEE? What are the various methods of indirect assignment? Is it only the course exit survey or various other surveys that you are being taken by the students to measure your indirect attainment? Why the percentage of indirect attainment is lower? Whether your semester and examination is completely mapped to course outcomes and Bloom's taxonomy levels. So all these has to be there as a flow chart to understand the attainment of course outcome. Similarly, once the course outcome is done, it will come to the program outcome. So all these course outcomes, how it is being mapped to POs and PSOs and attainment of POs and PSOs. What is the set target and what you have achieved? So what is your target for qualification to a set target with respect to total lot of students, whether 60% of students you're taking, 70%, 80%, or 100% of students you want to make them to score to a set target level, it is left to the discretion of the institute. And that number, whatever you're going to come, have to be justified. Say 60% of students scoring more than 70% of the marks, I would rate them as 3. Why? So those justifications have to be ready with you, and a proper calculation and analysis have to be done with respect to CO and PO attainment. So these are the various assessment tools which is being followed in my institute. So we have here mid-sem and end-sem examination tutorials, home assignments, and laboratory test project work, Viva quiz seminar. So all these is taken as a direct attainment, values for direct attainment, and for indirect we take alumni feedback, employer feedback, results of GATE, GRE, and any national level test, publication, patents, award rubrics, and professional society memberships and positions, and obviously the course exit survey is also part of the indirect assessment. And for each and everything, whatever we are evaluating, a rubrics is being developed. So what is a rubric? Rubric is a set or a table which is good for measuring higher order skills or evaluating complex tasks. Okay. So assesses effective domain skills like communication, safety, ethics, working in team, and lifelong learning. Especially for internship, project, seminar, you should have a rubric for evaluation. Without a rubric, you cannot evaluate these aspects. Product and process based assessments for psychomotor skill. So anywhere if you are measuring a psychomotor skill, then also you should have a rubric. So this is one sample rubric for a workshop practice in first year. Uh, so criteria is measurement, assembly, sanding, finishing, and safety. So how do I give a mark? If I want to give him 3 marks or her a three marks, then what has to be the quality for measurement? Measurements are accurate, plans completely followed. No visible error in assembly, no visible glue. So during assembly, if this is there, then 3 marks. If there are minor errors, then 2 marks. If it is little care is taken, then it is 1 mark. So such kind of rubric has to be there for all your project, internship, seminars, where you are going to analyze, especially PO 7 to PO 11. So this is one sample flow chart, framing of vision, mission, and POs, formulate PSOs and COs, taking POs from SAR and NBA, course articulation matrix you would be developing, right? So with course articulation matrix, you would go ahead and deliver the course, and after that, the calculation of CO attainment would be done. Direct, how much you are taking, usually it is 80%, and indirect is 20%, and that would be taken. Course exit survey including all this is 20%. Then go ahead and calculate POs and PSOs. So steps in calculating the attainment of COs, usually this is what is followed. Prepare the course evaluation plan, define attainment levels for both internal and end of the term assessment, set the target attainment level for each of the COs. So this is the next level. You may have all the COs target to be same. So if that is the case, when the course plan at the start of the semester, you have to think on it. So if you are giving equal amount of hours to each of the COs, then equal amount of marks in the examination of internal and external has to be asked for each of these COs as well. If not, you can vary the amount of mapping and marking and target for each of the COs. So then once that is done, calculate the attainment level for each CO based on marks, grades obtained. Then if the targets are achieved, then all the course outcomes are attained for that year. Program is expected to set higher targets for the following years as a part of continuous improvement. Now you can take a call on a yearly basis, you can increase or wait for 2 batches or 3 batches to complete that course and then set a target. So again, for that, you can have a internal policy of yourself of how you're going to do it. So this is, we can vary marks rather than percentage of students as shown here. So attainment level 1. So when do you say that it is attainment level 1? 75% students scoring more than 60% of marks in the final examination. So here the percentage of students I am maintaining same. If it is 100, class of 100, 75 students, if they are scoring more than 60% of the marks, then I'll give attainment level 1. If they're scoring more than 72, if they're scoring more than 80, then 3. Number of percentage of students is maintained constant here. So another method is varying the percentage of students and maintaining the constant with respect to the target of the marks that is being scored. Say 60% of students scoring more than 70, 80% of marks, level 3. 60% of students scoring more than, sorry, 50% of students more scoring more than 60% one, 60% of students scoring more than 62, 60% of students scoring more than 73. So that is a different method, but this is more evolved method where you have a focus on a larger class to get that attainment. So this is a simple calculation. I think I'll not go in ahead with this because you might have a different kind of calculations which are being done with respect to uh, your institute for attainment of COs and POs, right? So the next criteria 4 and 5 is completely a data which is already available. You have to just input it and get the marking, and no marks can be evaluated based on the subjectiveness. It is an objective marking which is already been given 80% of the marks by the software when you do the SAR. So when you're filling your SAR, you would get a complete marking. 80% of accurate marks you'll get for criteria 4 and 5. So this is stable. You have to just go on filling the numbers, sanction intake, actually admitted, migrated after year one, and all those details. Then admission details of the program through multiple entry and exit if you have any. Number of students graduated within stipulated period of time. So here one important thing that we have to see is without total of with backlogs plus without backlogs has to come in this table. Enrollment ratio, again, it depends. So depending on your admission, what is the enrollment ratio? Then this is the marking for that. So the one example. Success rate of the students for year 1, 2, and 3 have to be taken here. Total number of students admitted to first year and actually admitted by a second year, and number of students who graduated from the program in the stipulated course. This is also with respect to backlog. If a student, say in second year, third year has backlog, and by the final year he has completed everything and graduated in final year, then such a student is a successful student. His number has to be considered over here in column B. So any student having backlog, and by the time he completes 8 semester, the student, if he or she is able to get a degree certificate, then such a student has to be considered as a successful student. Academic performance of first year, second year, and third year. And if you are giving a promotion with a credit system, whatever you have, say 16 credits or more in the first year, is not eligible to enter the second year, right? So if such a kind of policy, if a student has 10 credits only as a backlog in first year and eligible to go to second year, then such students have to be considered for calculating of academic performance. So it is the successful students who have proceeded to the next academic year have to be considered for this calculation. Then professional activities, we have 25 marks. So what are the societies, bodies, chapters, clubs in the department? What are the activities that you do? How many of your students have participated in such events in state, national, and international levels? If they have got the prize, there is a different marking. If they've just participated, there are different marking in state level and all other aspects. So a student participating in a program conducted in your institution would fetch very low marks. So student participation in professional events at other institution, it carries a higher mark. And again, just participation and winning prize has different marks over here at national, international level. So you have to maintain the certificates and all other aspects, include event documentations showing the scale and credibility of the award. Keep a consolidated prize winner report year-wise in one place. Do not try to find whatever is required when the committee is going to visit you. So all the things have to be there with you at a start or whenever you are going to develop a file. Publication of journal, magazine, newsletter of the department by the students. So newsletter and magazine will be available with respect to your institution. And in your website also, I could see you have maintained, but not over recent years, but of previous years, the newsletters and magazines. So what is the involvement of student in publication of journal, magazines, and newsletters? So student name and USN has to be there in the editorial board with respect to magazines and newsletter. And student publication. Any student has published in an indexed conference or journal. If it is there, then it has to be mandated. UGC care is not there today. So any student publication in UGC care cannot be considered. So try to motivate your students to publish in Scopus Index journals so that it carries more value in NIRF as well. This is the same. So the next is the faculty information. So this details you would already have, which you have developed during the development of your pre-qualifier. SFR carries 30 marks, faculty qualification 25 marks. So again, the greater the number of PhDs in the department, higher is the marks. Lower is the mark. Then this is the table of how do we do it. Faculty cadre proportion. So again, for an intake of 60, it is 1 is to 2 is to 7. 6 is mandated, but 7 is better. So one professor, two associate, and three and 6 or 7 assistant professors have to be there as per the norms. So this is again the table calculation for that. So all professors, all associate professor and assistant professor in the department, as well as in the allied department, should be considered for calculation of faculty cadre proportion marks. So since you're computer science, and I see there are, I think, 4 departments that are related to computer science and engineering. So you have to consider all the faculties uh, in the cluster and then calculate these marking with respect to criteria 5. So if you have an option of visiting adjunct and professor of practice or associate professor of practice and assistant professor of practice, a minimum of 50 hours per year of interaction has to be there for each of these categories. For each year, it is going to be 3 mark, and total it is going to be a 10 mark. Faculty retention, again, this is the calculation. Higher the experience in your institution, greater the marks. Newly joined faculties, lower marks. So faculty contribution 120 marks, of which 60 is for academic and 60 is for research. So professional development activities, membership in professional bodies, and what are the activities that you have done through those professional bodies, 5 marks. Faculty as a resource person in another institution, 5 marks. Faculty attending the FDP and HCTPs, 5 marks. So this is participation, and also as a resource person in other institutes carries 5 marks each. So you need to have a plan of action each academic year. What number of my faculties would be acting as a resource person? What number of faculties would be completing the FDPs or STTPs for the program to have these numbers? So faculty contribution in development of Swayam, MOOCs or other e-contents carries 5 marks. So any of your faculty have developed MOOCs courses or e-certification courses in any of the platform can be maintained here. If not done, then kindly ask your faculties to start developing the content in a YouTube or a blog so that it could be visible. They can start now and develop in the near future. So certification of faculty through MOOCs and SWAYAM. So again here, only the proctored examinations would be considered and higher weightage would be given for such. If you have something from Udemy, EDX, Coursera, where a proctored examination is not happening, then it is difficult to justify to the auditors. So what is the number of FDPs organized in the department in last 3 assessment years? Have to be shown up here. So, list of faculty members involved in student innovative projects, how your faculty have guided them in hackathons, datathons, projects, and other aspects. A solid document proof have to be there for this. Faculty internship, training collaboration with industry. Whether your faculty have gone for internship, say during the vacation time, 15 days of internship with some company to upskill themselves, or they have underwent a training, or they have solving few problems with the collaboration of industry, or doing a consultancy can be shown under this. The remaining 60 marks is completely research oriented. What is the academic research number of publications that have been done, conference proceedings, book chapter published? And in last 3 years, it has to be a progressive, not a decremental values. So number of PhD student details in your program, 5 marks. For full time, it is more, part time less. Developmental activities that is being carried out in the department have to be showcased and maintained by the faculty. Have you done any working models apart from the lab equipments, whatever you have? The design documentations have to be there. Event participation and recognition and utilization record should be maintained. Prototypes, if anything that is developed by the faculty in the department, have to be showcased under this. If you have got sponsored research project, it carries 15 marks. More than 20 lakhs uh, overall would carry 15 marks. If it is less than 1 lakh, it is 0 mark. Consultancy work again, if it is more than 20 lakhs, 15 marks, less than 1 lakh, 0 mark. So 30 mark out of 60 marks is only for consultancy and research funding. Seed money institution research grant 5 marks. So whether an institution is providing the faculty members with a seed amount. So if the seed amount is less than 1 lakh, 0 mark. If it is more than 6 lakh, it is going to be 3 marks. In 7 is facilities and technical support. So it is completely related to your laboratories, number of laboratories you have to list. So each year, two exclusive laboratories you have to showcase. So 3 years, six laboratories as a specific space you need to have for each of the programs. So what are the additional facilities that have been created apart from the existing equipments that are there in the laboratories have to be maintained here? So overall ambience, maintenance, procedure, stock book, dead stock register, maintenance register, calibration certificates, once in how many months you are going to do the preventive maintenance. So all those records have to be maintained for the last 3 years. What are the safety measures in the laboratories? First aid, fire extinguisher, utilization of that. What kind of fire extinguisher is used for what? So all these aspects have to be there in the safety measures. Then do you have a specific or a separate project lab and research lab or center of excellence in your program, right? So when I looked at the vision statement of the computer science and engineer, it clearly stated they want to be a center of excellence in computer science and engineering across the institution, whichever is being developed there. So, do you have a center of excellence as per your vision statement is one big question which have to be asked. Then research laboratory and project laboratory, exclusive space utilization, who is utilizing it, what is the outcome of this, have to be maintained in records. The last part is for a program is criteria, right, which is continuous improvement, which is going again to be a direct reflection of criteria three, the gap of COs and POs. So you have to clearly mention what is the gap that is analyzed and how you are overcoming it for course outcomes and program outcomes, and documentary evidence have to be maintained and shown for the next academic year. Say 2020 batch, which is going to pass out in 24. For that, you have done a gap analysis. Then immediately for the next batch, you have to showcase whatever you have mentioned in gap analysis is being carried out in the next academic year. So those solid documentary proofs have to be maintained for action. This is in detail. So action taken based on the results of evaluation of the POs and PSOs. So again, COs and PSOs both have to be maintained over here. Academic audit and actions taken thereof during the period of assessment. So here it carries 5 marks for an external academic audit on a year wise. So internal audit through IQAC would be done on a yearly basis, but for external audit, clearly they are specified in the evaluation sheet, which would carry 5 marks for external academic audit. And once the audit is done, what is the outcome of the audit and what is the action plan that you have taken to bring in the measure of improvement and other aspects for improvement of quality. So you have to have the frequency of the audit, what is the conduct mechanism, what is the academic audit committee that you have, action plan based on audit observation, implementation, then effectiveness of the audit process. Then improvement in faculty qualification contribution. So number of faculty members with PhD degree has to go on in incremental order of the last 3 years, publication in an incremental order, and publication in conference also in an incremental order has to happen. Academic performance, again directly taken from criteria 4. So criteria 9, if we look at, this is student support system at an institution level. First year SFR will be calculated over here. So it is partial load and full load can be given here. With respect to criteria 3, whatever you have mentioned in SFR, if you have shown first year load to be 0, then you can calculate the partial load here. If you have dedicatedly shown some faculty for first year, then you have to neglect them over here in showing faculty for fully utilized in first year. So the marking for the same, again, it is going to give in the SAR itself. You have to just input the numbers and the details of faculties over there. Each faculty detail, complete detail has to be entered each faculty wise. If you have 200 faculties, 200 for first year, 200 have to be entered there, details. Then what kind of mentoring system you have, how rigorously it is being done, mentoring reports, what are the cases that you found during mentoring, how did you address it? So all those aspects have to be looked into the mentoring system file. So then feedback on teaching learning process and corrective measures taken, if any. So TLP feedback process at an institution level, usually it happens one in a semester feedback, whatever we are going to take. How it is monitored and measured, we can just have a report. The principal or the head of the institution or the dean academics, what are the measures that have been taken for corrective actions, and whether next year it has been implemented, improved, or what. Complete result analysis have to be done for that. Feedback on academic facilities have to be taken by the students, by the faculties. They have to give this feedback, which has to be maintained at an institution level. So TPO, complete cell support. What is it? How it is being done? What are the facilities there? How many staffs are there? What are the pre-placement training activities? What is the support given by the placement cell for higher studies? So all these aspects have to be taken into consideration. Then IIC cell, complete details of IIC cell should be there here. Startup and entrepreneurship activities, what is being done at institute level, IIC activities. Then how do you do it? Number of students participating in this. Do you have any startups that is being developed by the institution? How effective is it? Do you have any unicorns, venture capitalists? So all the details of IICSL have to be coming under this. So availability of institution strategic plan and its effective implementation as per NEP. So IDP, institution development plan, which is as per the NEP policy existence, and how well we are following it with respect to the developed report of NEP to address various aspects and issues also have to be taken look into for this 10 marks. So effectiveness, implementation, and other aspects also have to be in picture for development of this policy. And this is at a institution level governing body, governing council meeting. If it is an autonomous, we will have it. So you need to have a complete file, systems, meetings, minutes, everything of governing council, then administrative setup, functions of various bodies, service rules, recruitment procedure, and promotion for policy. So HR has to maintain all these things. I'm sorry. Yeah. So HR has to maintain all the aspects with respect to 10 marks of 9.6.2. Then the transparency, mandatory disclosure of AICT, ISHE, ONOD on the institution website. Availability of policy, rules, and processes on the institution website has to be mandatorily be available. So all these mandatory disclosures should be there in the website. The budget allocation, utilization, and public accounting at institution level. So as per NIRF, the total amount that is being collected by the institution under various heads and its utilization has to be publicly visible. That is in the website. So audited statements of the financial years have to be put up in the website to get this 12 marks. So summary student wise, what is the expenditure that you are showcasing in the institute. So all that table is there in criteria 9 of SAR and you need to calculate it. So program specific budget allocation. So for each the program which is going for the accreditation, what is the budget that is there, how you are utilizing each student, what is the amount that you are spending, how you are skilling. So all those aspects would be coming under this heading. Then we have quality of learning resources. So what is the institution that has been provided to the faculties for learning resources, hard copy and soft copies, accessibility, internet resources, and then a studio to create videos, to create e-content. So all those would be uh, reviewed under under this criterion. Then we have e-governance. So basically the LMS part. So how effective it is, implementation, student can access, parent can access, faculty can access, development of notes, disbursement of all these aspects with respect to e-governance, initiative and implementation of SDGs at an institution level. So various activities at an institute level would be conducted. So how these are mapped to the sustainable development goals, the records of that IAC cell library, then placement cell, whatever activities we are doing at institution level, how it is mapped to SDGs, the complete recording has to be maintained over there. Innovative educational initiatives and implementation of those. So we have to have a unique kind of system with the institution, like mobility of students, implementation of academic bank of credits, institution development plan, NEP policy, multiple entry and exit, interdisciplinary curriculum programs, involvement of industry personnel in partial delivery, or professor of practice, adjunct or visiting faculty. What is the action plan for slow learners? How we have been implementing some things for fast learners. So all these things have to be documented and maintained. And appraisal and development system, FPATs, yearly increments, how we are doing, what is the process followed for the last 3 years, and what are the slabs in which the increment is given at an institute level, would be considering for 10 marks. Then what are the outreach activities of the institution? So how institution is helping in developing the country at a various level? What are the community service? Have you participated in Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, social internship, society connect activities, developing your community in and around the institute, participating in Viksit Bharat initiative? So all these aspects would fall under outreach activities of the institution. So this is a brief of various criterias which falls under the criteria new tier 1 NBA format. Though it is a very short time and I try to cover various aspects of what has to be maintained and how it has to be maintained at an institute level and a program level, but in-depth analysis and complete involvement of the institution and the faculty of a program is required to bring in that semblance of tier one outcome-based education to your institution. Getting a tier one is not easy in its true spirit, but once you get, you maintain that quality and you stand apart from all other institutions across the country. So with these words, I like to thank